Hey everyone, excuse me. Another video today, kind of answering some questions that I've been getting a lot from people after the live stream podcast thing I did with Randall Gruntproof, and then some of the videos that I've done in the past on my channel talking about equipment and things like that, and some other nuances about security contracting. I have several videos talking about security contracting, pros and cons, things like that. But I figured I would make another video answering some of those questions, since I do have some more viewers now, and I'm getting a little bit more of reach with that kind of thing, because it seems like people don't go back and watch those videos. Which, please, I have a lot of videos on my channel already, so go back and watch some of those. But with this, just answering some of those questions more so. Some have been in Q&As, and some have been, in other things otherwise. So, but to start off with, we're talking your defense contracting, your private military, private security contracting with government contracts, things like that. Requirements to join or get on a contract and go do that kind of work. So first and foremost, all these companies have open job listings on various sites like Indeed, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, and then their websites, ADP, so they're all over the place. You can go look and see what the criteria, what the requirements are for the job, for the various positions, based on what it is and where it is, and all that stuff, who it's with, what contract, everything. All the information, criteria, requirements for being a qualifying applicant are going to be in those lists on the job listings. So, in large, for the overseas, like your Worldwide Protective Services contract, especially, and like OGA, other government agency contracts, things like that, you're going to need military background or a SWAT background in large. Sometimes, if you've been in the security industry for a while and are well networked, and have good training and additional knowledge, skills, and abilities that you can show that you can do that, because any part of that type of training is an assessment showing that, hey, you can do what you say you can do, what your resume shows. So it's partly a vetting process as much as a training process. So and then paramedic and stuff, advanced EMT and paramedic and stuff. Because they have the advanced medical skills. So those are really the only ways that you're going to be able to get into that gig. If you don't have any prior military background or prior law enforcement background, aren't an EMT or anything like that, you're pretty much shit out of luck. So that's something that people need to take into consideration. There are training companies out there, good training companies out there. I've mentioned some of them before. You've got Sec4 International, you've got ESI, you've got CRI, you've got several other companies in the United States, and there's a bunch of companies also in Europe and the Middle East that provide training for getting you up to that level and certifiability and things like that. But that still only gets you so far, because most of these companies still want work experience background, okay? So first and foremost, you have to take that into consideration, okay? So look at the criteria of job listings, understand what they're asking, what they're looking for in a person as far as background and qualifications and everything, and then go from there if you qualify. If you don't qualify, there are other opportunities out there, but that specific type of work isn't going to work for now. You're not going to fit in a position for now. Work up to it, crawl, walk, run, right? You have to get your foot in the door somewhere, so it's going to be at a different level, a different scale, a different type of job, at least initially, okay? So take that into consideration. Starting out into executive protection work is actually a lot easier to do as a civilian with none of that background, although that helps. But again, those training companies, many that are out there that I've mentioned that are good and certifiable programs and stuff, those are worth investing into if you don't have that background. So think about those things, okay? Just first and foremost, you need to think about those things. Vetting process is extensive. Hurry up and wait is a saying that we use a lot in the military, and it applies for the security industry at that level, with that type of work. You will be waiting around. You'll get a series of things done, submission of information, questionnaires, and then the background check vetting stuff starts, okay? And that takes a while, because company side is one side, and then for government contracts, you got the government you got to deal with then too. And usually it's one or two government entities at any given time through various vetting processes. One's called EKIP, which is like the largest, but each agency, depending on what the contract is with, whether it's the Department of Defense or FBI or Homeland Security or the State Department, whatever, they all have a different set of vetting that they do, apart from some of the standardized national database information for vetting process. That takes a while. Security clearance, after that, takes a while. Hurry up and wait process is not quick. The government does not move quickly in a lot of ways. Most people know that, especially if you've been in the military or work in this industry. So, it does not work quick. If you have a clean record, so we're talking, you know, you've never had misdemeanor, you've never been really like arrested, you know, anything like that, and as long as you don't have a lot of debt, because that can be a disqualifier for a lot of things, because that shows that you're susceptible to being bribed, bought, turned, you know, because I mean, some of these contracts you're working with intelligence people, you're working, you know, you have a security clearance, you have all that stuff. So some of those can be disqualifiers. So you need to make sure you have a clean record. You need to make sure you don't have a lot of debt, that you don't have a lot of child support, you know, and whatever else. Some stuff with medical bills they can make an exception for, but if it's too much debt, even with that, they won't take you. So you need to take that into consideration too. There's two other channels that I also recommend checking out, that explains some of that stuff too. Even shows you, you know, job listings and some of the application process, and then the other one talks about some more nuances and stuff. One is Vets to PSC, Kenny Alicea, awesome dude. He's been a friend for a while. He doesn't really do anything with that channel anymore, but he's kept the videos up because it's very useful tools for understanding what you're looking at in the application process, just for applying for a job listing, okay, for a contractor. Again, criteria. The other one is Overseas Contractor Academy, Contractor Kev. He hasn't done much in a while now, unfortunately, but same kind of deal. He's got a lot of good videos out there and a lot of good information that kind of helps you understand things, pros and cons, you know, just that kind of stuff. So he worked a lot more like kind of in the administrative side, but he's a very smart guy and a really good dude. So I do recommend those two channels to check out as well. That as kind of an aside thing, so I digress. Kind of getting back to it with the disqualifiers and qualifiers and things like that, you know, just kind of finishing that out with the security, the background checks and stuff. So there are things that can be disqualifiers, you know. So again, you know, make sure you're squared away and that you have a clean record and everything. The security clearance process takes a while, okay? And then depending on what contract you're on, it depends on what security clearance that you're going to get, okay? And with that, for example, like the FBI's top secret clearance is not the same as a State Department top secret clearance, okay? Two very different clearance levels, states, capacities, things like that, you know? So, like I said earlier, different agencies, different departments do different things, and have different sets of stuff. Sometimes there's crossover, sometimes there isn't, okay? So you just need to take that into consideration too, okay? Yeah, that's about it with that stuff. So kind of the basics about that stuff. Again, I've got other videos talking about pros and cons in some ways, but those are the surface level things, you know. And whether it's defense contracting here domestically or overseas, again, it is a fairly rigorous process, and the nature of the work is going to vary based on who you're working for and what the contract is. Both who you're working for in the agency and department sense, but also the company that you're working for, because different companies are going to do things slightly differently within the framework of the contract requirements by the client, whether it's the government or whatever, but they're all going to do things a little bit differently. So, and have different ways of doing things to a certain extent. There's a lot of things that are standardized because of that federal defense contract framework and everything, but there's still a lot of stuff that is going to vary. Some of it can be very headache-inducing and arduous and annoying, and some just work well, and the companies work well and all that. So also, research the companies that you're looking at. Public information, they're public companies. Even though they're private security companies, there's a lot of public information on them. There's quite a few that have open investor information, some around the stock market, things like that. I mean, Lockheed Martin is a defense contractor. Okay, so a lot of companies out there that are just open information. You can do some research on them to figure out, hey, this company's going to be a good fit for me. I like how they do things. I like how they treat their people. All that stuff. So make sure you're doing your research. First and foremost, and at the end of it all, you have to do your research and continue to do your research. So yeah, just some stuff I wanted to talk about with this one too. So just kind of answering some base questions and just kind of giving more information on certain things as it pertains to all that stuff. So, but yeah, that's all I got for this one. So more stuff coming soon. Metal up.